Yo people, Jeff here again with another interesting subscriber question. I actually really like this question. It's a bit deep, so I'm not sure if I will be able to cover all the different aspects in one video or if this video is going to be really long, but I'll tackle it as best as I can and we'll see what happens. So this question is actually a relationship question. My subscriber asked about, should you have ideas regarding monogamy, defining the relationships, and ideas about marriage. Now, I thought this was a very interesting question. It's a topic that I'm passionate about because I've done my own research on it throughout the years, and I am interested to see how this here will turn out. Alright, so the first question he asked is, how does one come to their own idea about monogamy? And like anything else, I believe you should do your own research when it comes to more in-depth topics. Now, something that I find kind of funny is that people give a lot more thought to buying material things than they do the relationships that they have with others. So in terms of buying a house or buying a car, people tend to give a lot of thought for those type of situations, but don't give a lot of thought to the persons that they choose to become involved with, even though that will have a massive impact on their mental, physical, emotional and spiritual health, and also how well they progress and develop as a person in life. Because if you theoretically are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, then for sure whoever it is you are involved with romantically will have a much greater impact on you as a person than persons that you're a little more loosely associated with. So I think it's really important that you need to choose your partners very wisely, and really and truly just take time to get to know people, if that is the goal. So what I really first sought to do is to break down what a relationship is, and then the different types of relationships, and then we're going to get into the same discussion about monogamy, and she even touched on ideas regarding marriage, which is an even deeper subject. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, I couldn't possibly define what the different types of relationships are unless I identified what a relationship is to begin with. The first thing we have to establish is like a common ground of understanding. So to me, a relationship is a combination of the mental, emotional, spiritual, and then finally sexual connection with another person. Finally, but not least, connection with another person. Because when you become intimately involved with somebody else, you pretty much, these are the different areas that you'll be connected on. And to a further extent, if you're talking about marriage, then even financial comes into play. So that is a relationship definition that we're going to go with. The mental, physical, sexual connection and involvement with another person. Then we're going to break down the types of relationships. So here on the board I have different types of relationships, and obviously the absence of a relationship or being single, that's the forever alone group, forever alone. Then we have a short-term, non-monogamous, heterosexual relationship. And we gotta say heterosexual because we have to acknowledge that there are homosexual relationships as well. We're focusing on heterosexual relationships here between men and women. Short-term, non-monogamous, that's like basically a fling, a very short-lived interaction between a man and a woman. And pretty much everybody has, or most people, will go through these different types of relationships at one point or another. And it's just good to understand or identify which is that you are experiencing at that point in time. After that, we have long-term non-monogamous relationships, which is kind of like a friends with benefits situation, which might not necessarily be long-term. That might be more of those that tend to be more of a medium-term type relationship. And then long-term non-monogamous, meaning poly relationships or polyamorous relationships, where you're romantically involved with more than one person, but committed to each of them, if you understand what I'm saying. And then long-term monogamous relationships, those are the most common relationships and the most typical relationships that you'll find. Those are the boyfriend girlfriend type relationships and marriage. Right, so those are the most common relationships you will come across. Should you have your own personal philosophy and ideas about each one? Yes. You should know how you feel personally on most subjects that will impact your life. So just take time to research the different types and the pros and cons. Some of them you will experience unknowingly. You may just fall into a different type of situation, or things progress at different rates. So for the purpose of simplifying it, I'm going to put this picture of this on the screen so that you can see it clearly. Yes, I think you should have your own personal philosophy on the different types of relationships. It is important to do your research. There are plenty of books out there that you can read that can give you insight into relationships. So you're talking about books like Love Languages, Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus. Pretty much just Google some books and try to get as much knowledge on the subject area as possible, and then you can actually work through your own feelings and ideas on the subject once you have all the information, the relevant information available to you. Pretty much when it comes to relationship, a lot of it is experience based. You can't really study it like you would any other subject, because dealing with other human beings, obviously you're dealing with unpredictable beings. So a lot of it is experience. You have to really get out there and experience life, interact with other people so you can figure what you want and what you don't want. That's the best way to go about, really learning who you are and what your preference is. Now, the next question they ask is, does it impact how you approach a relationship? And of course it does. If you don't have an idea of what your thoughts are on monogamy or polyamorous relationships, or depending on your phase in life, for instance, let's say you just got out of a relationship and you aren't interested in becoming too heavily involved with somebody else, you may lean to more of the shorter term relationships or looser term relationships. So it's important to understand the different types of relationships and where you are at in your point in life. So for instance, if you are a little older and you require and desire a little more stability, you may lean more towards a long-term monogamous relationship, like a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, leading towards marriage. If you've already experienced life and you've already had different experiences with different relationships with different people, and require something a little more stable, then you have to understand that the mindset that comes with that. And I don't want to say responsibilities because it comes pretty heavy, but that's pretty much the word, the responsibilities that will come with being in a monogamous relationship. You also have to know your terms and conditions. I pretty much look at relationships like, it sounds bad, but I pretty much look at relationships like making a business deal. You yourself are a company and the other person is a company. So you have to know what each company requires to make the contractual relationship work. If you don't know what your preferences are and you don't know what you will stand for, what your boundaries are, then you're pretty much leaving that contractual relationship up in the air and open for interpretation. So to me, a relationship, you should really approach it to that idea of find out what the other person's views are. I think you should have an open discussion about it, and I think one of the most important things is being honest. A lot of people say that they may want a long-term committed monogamous relationship but are secretly involved in polyamorous relationships where you may have a steady girlfriend or boyfriend, but then you're dealing with other people on the side. That's not a monogamous relationship. That's a polyamorous relationship, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. So you could say you're in a monogamous relationship. If you have a side person, you're in a polyamorous relationship. And if that's what the type of relationship you desire to be in, you can actually be honest with the person that you are with, but you should be honest from the jump. One thing that makes most relationships fail would be people find out that the other person kind of switched up on them. So you say something in the beginning, but then further down the line, you act in accordance with your own interests, but outside of what would be considered the business contract or the relationship contract. Because that's what monogamy pretty much is. When you say this person is my boyfriend or this person is my girlfriend, you're establishing a contract within the context of your interactions with the other person. So that's gonna pretty much, a lot of people I suppose will do it indirectly. You're automatically supposed to know what the boundaries are unless expressly discussed, which I think is the most important route. The best route to just openly discuss with the other person your likes and dislikes, what your expectations and boundaries are. And if it is that you know that you cannot be or are unwilling to be monogamous completely with that person, then you should also let them know and let them decide. That's why honesty is important. It gives the other person an opportunity to make an informed decision. And to not be honest pretty much means you're being selfish. So if you don't want to be in that position, it is important to state that clearly. Alright, we're back. Now we are going to break down the different aspects involved in relationships a little further. Different things to consider when getting involved with another person. A lot of people like to skip this step, but if you're looking at the order in which things progress, this always comes first. And that is physical or sexual attraction to another person. When you first see somebody, you have no idea of that person's personality, their background, upbringing, nothing. All you have is the external. So when you're first meeting some person, you're judging them based on their body, their looks, their movement, and just the general, I talk about aura or vibe, just the aura or vibe that they're giving off to you. And I actually think that's an important part of relationships. People like to downplay it, but I actually think that's very important. Is the first aspect of most relationships is going to be the physical or the sexual attraction. When you see some person, do they do something for you, basically? And you want to be involved with somebody that you are genuinely attracted to. Because over time, if that attraction isn't present, it's also going to start to affect other parts of the relationship. So physical attraction and sexual attraction is something quite individual. Like the saying goes, everybody has a type. So you, as a woman, you may like a man that is tall, slim, stocky, muscular, bearded or clean shaven. A man might like a woman that's curvy, thick, or slim. So it comes down to personal preference. You shouldn't be ashamed of your personal preference. I know some people have a problem with what they like or how other people will perceive what they like, and that really shouldn't matter. So that is the first aspect in most relationships. That's what makes you approach somebody or shoot your shot. That's attraction. Then after that is when you move on to personality. So the shorter term relationships don't usually delve too deep into the lower aspects of relationships, but longer term relationships, these will become important. So when you're talking about personality, you're looking at the person's upbringing, how it affects their behavior and their beliefs, their values, and education and experience comes into play as well. So those are things that you observe over time, and pretty much you tend to want to look for, positives in the person's personality, but you also need to be aware of and pay attention to red flags as well. Especially if you're looking for, I wouldn't even say not especially, but if you intend to be involved with a person at all, you need to be aware of red flags. Because persons with personality issues can actually have a very detrimental effect on your emotional health and on you as a person in different areas, depending on the amount of involvement that you have with them. And it can also be the length of time that you're involved with them, depending on how close you let them get to you. So you need to be aware. This is what people are talking about when they're talking about toxic people or toxic relationships. And if you've ever been in one, you know how deeply it can affect you, right? After that, we're talking about the aura or vibe. Now, this is not something, I guess, that can really be taught. It's more of an intuitive I would say. So if you intend to get married, then you definitely do not want to become involved deeply with somebody who has poor financial management and poor financial habits. make certain moves or live a certain quality of life. So, for instance, if you have somebody who does not know how to save, and you become married, is very unlikely you will be able to accomplish a lot of things together, because they will have no, finances for y'all to be able to make decisions or maneuver as a unit. If you get involved with somebody who has no financial sense or understanding, that can become very frustrating. And to me, that's probably a big red flag. If you come across that, I wouldn't even consider long-term, them being a long-term prospect. So yeah, knowing the different aspects of relationships are going to be important, more so when you're getting into the longer term relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage, and especially when children become involved, because then what the other person's beliefs and values are regarding, raising children, operating the home, and this their general behavior will be passed on to your children, right? I hope that is simple. Well, so that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this topic. Feel free to drop me a line below. These are the type of discussions I like to have, to see where other people's, opinions and thoughts on this subject is. I find it a very interesting subject. So please feel free to share your thoughts. And if you like the content in the video, please like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.